Last time we looked at BAS, the Bibliography of Asian Studies, online, and JSTOR and Project Muse. Today I want to look at WorldCat, World Catalog, and also some Japanese databases that may be of use to you. So, the last thing we looked at was the Bibliography of Asian Studies, and I mentioned that it requires a second step in that it only gives you the bibliographic information for a resource, but then you have to go to the library and find it. Now I want to talk about what happens if you go to the library and you discover it's not there, or better yet, you go to Minerva and you discover it's not there. We don't have it in our library, but it's some book that you really, really want. What do? Well, as long as you've got some time, you can order it through interlibrary loan. How does that work? The easiest way to do interlibrary loan is through, and find information through WorldCat, is through WorldCat. WorldCat is considered a database. We could go through databases like we did before, but you could also notice that on this page there's a link directly to it because so many people use it. What is WorldCat? WorldCat, it's also called First Search, is a catalog of not just one or two libraries, but hundreds and hundreds of libraries across North America, and including some libraries in Europe and in East Asia. Most notably, Waseda University in Tokyo has its catalog here on WorldCat. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can easily borrow books from Waseda, but sometimes it can happen. So, let's say that you were looking for something that our library didn't have. This would be the place to find out which libraries do have it. Instead of going to individual library catalogs, you can search multiple library catalogs using this database, and then you can also use it to go through and order those things from interlibrary loan. I'll show you in a demonstration in just a minute. But first, I want to take a look at the search page. It's a fairly intuitive search engine. Again, it works with Boolean logic. You can search by keyword, title, various things. You can limit it by year. You can limit it by language. You can see the language, the basic language choices here. One of the really fun things I love about WorldCat is if you click on Show All Languages and then look at the pull-down menu, you end up seeing languages that, frankly, I didn't even know existed. And some I know exist, but really, are there really books written in it? So my favorite example is right here, Klingon. It does admittedly tell us that it's an artificial language, but there it is. In any event, you can limit it by language, and in the case of WorldCat, you probably do want to do that. Otherwise, you'll get so many hits, because remember, these are libraries all around the world. So many hits that are false or that you can't use. It can be overwhelming. You can limit it by the number of libraries, but I never do that. There's no advantage to it. You can limit it by type, as you can see, by audience, juvenile or not juvenile, by content, fiction, nonfiction. I almost never pull down those menus. Format, you can do that too. Search only, for example, for Braille books or audio recordings or something like that. But the most important thing, I think, in this entire menu is this little box here. It says Limit Availability To. And if you click that box, you're limiting your search to just your library. In the case of the University at Albany, our abbreviation, I don't know why, is NAM. If you are taking this course on another campus, your abbreviation may be a little bit different. I'm sure you have access to WorldCat. If you check that box, and then do a search, you'll only be looking for materials at UAlbany. Now you might ask me, why the heck would I want to do that? I'm here in WorldCat in the first place because I'm looking for something that I think our library doesn't own. Well, I'll tell you why. Even though I encouraged you to learn how to navigate Minerva, I hate Minerva as a search engine. I find it clunky, I find it uncooperative. Often it just doesn't find things that I know are there in the library because I've mistyped something or I've given it the wrong keyword category or what have you. WorldCat is a much more forgiving search engine. To be honest, I don't use Minerva hardly at all. The only reason I use Minerva is to find a call number. But if I'm just starting out searching for things in our library, I actually use WorldCat. I go to the WorldCat portal, I make sure I check that box, and then I do my search. And when the information comes up, the only thing it won't give me is the call number. That's what I have to use Minerva for. But in this case, let's not look at just stuff in the Albany Library. Let's look at things all over the place. I'm going to start with Anazaki, as I always do. I'm not going to do keyword because I'm going to get too many hits. He was a pretty prolific author too, so even with saying author, I'm going to get an awful lot of hits. Let's say I only want to see materials in English for this particular search. Let's see what comes up. The first two hits that we get, we're told, are owned by the University at Albany. They make that really clear with a nice green icon. Further on down, we see another thing that's given to us, another entry that's owned by the University at Albany. These returns are ordered by the number of libraries that own the resource. Notice that first book, The History of Japanese Religion, is owned by 1,075 libraries worldwide. The next book, Nichiren the Buddhist Prophet, is owned by 369 libraries worldwide, etc., etc. And as we scroll down, we see the numbers reducing. So if I click on that particular item, it gives me much more information about it. It tells me that Albany owns it. It gives me the contents and all the other catalog information that librarians put in. What if I'm looking for something that our library doesn't own? For example, religious life of the Japanese people. If I click on that, once again I see our library doesn't own it. I'd like to order it through interlibrary loan. First thing I usually do is check to see what libraries own it. Why? Well, let's say, for example, a nearby library like RPI or Siena or St. Rose might actually own it, in which case it would be easy for me just to go down the street and pick it up instead of ordering it. Here I see Skidmore, that's not too far away from us, that owns it. And a bunch of the SUNYs do too, Buffalo, New Paltz, but Albany doesn't. It's looking to me like nobody super close owns this book. So I am going to investigate ordering it through interlibrary loan. I could search Minerva too, but what's the point? Because I already know that our library doesn't own it. Submit request to Albany is the link upon which you want to click. This will take you to the interlibrary loan login page. You log in just as you would for any connection on campus, and it will take you to this page where the fields are pre-populated with all the information about the book. You don't have to sit down in the interlibrary loan office and fill out a little form. That's what we used to do. It does it all for you. You first have to check which radio box is applicable. In this case, I want to take out something that's not available in the Albany libraries. You must have those three first fields populated, and you also want to pay attention to this particular pull-down menu. Will you accept an alternate edition of this item? Yes, that's an important thing to say. If there's any particular notes, for example, I only want chapter 3 or something like that of that book, then you would write it in the notes. And then you would click on Submit Request, which I'm not going to do because I don't want to waste the time of the interlibrary loan staff. But if I did click on Submit Request, I would then be taken to a page that told me the request had been submitted. Now what I'm going to do instead is cancel and return to the main menu. This is my interlibrary loan page, and it shows me requests. It lets me submit a new request if I want to. I don't have to go through WorldCat. It also lets me pick up electronic things that I've ordered. For example, if I order a journal article, it may have come in as a PDF, not as a hard copy, and I could pick that up there. And I can also look at my history of what I've taken out. I've taken out a lot of things since I've been at the University in Albany. Here's a huge collection of books that I have requested through interlibrary loan. And in each of these cases, if you click on the number of the item, that will take you to the transaction information, and it will show you here tracking. It's like tracking a UPS package. What's going on with that particular request? This was a tricky request. I have to hand it to the interlibrary loan people. They worked hard to get this article for me. It was in a pretty obscure journal in Japan. Look how many times they had to send in the request, how many different people did it, and finally I did get the article, and I was very happy. It took them 2 months, though. Usually interlibrary loan doesn't take that long. Let me return to WorldCat and say a little bit about that. If you're looking for something like this, that's owned by 343 libraries, and they're all relatively close by, within New York State alone, look how many there are. And this page doesn't even tell us, doesn't list all the libraries, it just lists the close ones. You see they're all organized by state. If you want to see all the libraries in the system that own it, you can click on Display All Libraries and see all the libraries in the United States. And then when you get to the bottom, we get into the international realm. There's some from Australia, Canada, Japan, Israel, Netherlands, New Zealand, United Kingdom. There's quite a few libraries that own this particular work. If you're ordering some material like this that is fairly widely owned, usually it comes very quickly. In the case of Albany, I don't know, a week or so. And depends on what library you're borrowing it from. Usually you can keep it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks even, and sometimes you can even renew interlibrary loan materials. When your interlibrary loan material comes in, you'll receive an email from the library telling you that you should go to the main library to pick it up. All you have to do is show up with your ID and you can have what it is, unless it is sent to you as a PDF, as an electronic piece of material, and in that case, all you have to do is log on to the interlibrary loan page of the library and download it. You can certainly go to the interlibrary loan page. I'm going to show you where that is. Directly through the main university web page. This is the main library page, interlibrary loan, UA delivery. You can go log on through that page also. So WorldCat is a great way to find more obscure stuff and or borrow books that you know are out there that our library just doesn't have. I've known students that didn't know about WorldCat, ended up buying books and paying a lot of money for them when they could have just gotten them through interlibrary loan. Let me show you one more thing. I'm going to clear this and start again. I'm going to look for things by Anazaki. By the way, you can also search using Japanese in this system, in the WorldCat system. I'm going to look for materials by Anazaki, and I'm going to limit it to materials in Japanese. So you might be looking at this and thinking, well, that doesn't look like Japanese. But notice that these entries, almost all of them, have show non-Roman characters. If I click on that, then you get to see the Japanese title of the book. You see the kanji and the kana, and all the people's names, etc., etc. You can, as I said, also search initially in the system using kanji. It didn't always used to be like that, but it is now. So if you have just the kanji of the person's name, then you can put that in there. And often that helps reduce the false hits. Okay, so WorldCat is the place you go after you found that really cool stuff in the Bibliography of Asian Studies that you can't get your hands on in the main library.